What's going on, guys? My name's Spence,
And I'm Mitch.
and we're two brothers that really love King of the Hill. And today we are bringing you something a little bit different, as it's probably known by many of you watching. They just released the new opening sequence for the 14th season, the revival of King of the Hill. And I've definitely got some things to say about this. I don't know about you, Mitch.
I've got a few things to say.
We're going to break down some of the Easter eggs, some of the news that's come out since they've released this little tidbit of information for us, and hopefully you guys will get some insight. First thoughts, though, before we begin, I was skeptical about this re-release. I don't know about you, about this revival, because revivals have had some pretty mixed results. I don't know if you've watched the Futurama revival on Hulu, but it's pretty mid, in my opinion.
Pretty mediocre for sure.
I was worried that King of the Hill would fall down that same kind of rabbit hole, but I feel a little bit better after watching this opening sequence.
Yeah, the one thing that this opening sequence didn't clarify that I've been wondering is what happened to Lucky and Luann.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think that they're seen at all in the sequence, and yeah, we don't have any information about what's going on. But what I do think it does do a great job in showing is the passage of time and how things have changed since the original
It's 2010.
15 years ago. And they do a great job here of showing everything. Connie, she has a little global warming science project that she's doing. That's what her placard says. And so she pulls Joseph and Bobby out to do that. And we can see Con and Min are still together, but they're arguing.
They're
What's
always
exactly-
arguing, aren't they?
Yeah, they do argue a lot. So that's nothing too out of the ordinary. And
Seems
then,
like Texas is getting a lot of snow.
yeah, that's another thing I've noticed is that I think that depending on the region of Texas, snow is pretty rare, but I'm sure someone can let us know. I remember in the main series, there was like one episode where there was snow and everyone was like freaking out.
Yeah, it was a big day for propane.
Nobody knew how to drive. That's one of the things that obviously we've grown up around snow our entire lives. And my wife she came from the United States, LA specifically. Her learning to drive in the snow was a process. We also have right here, we got a little bit now in the future. Bobby looks like he's maybe 16, 17 years old. And we see Good Hank coming back. And that is another weird thing. Good Hank just drops off the face of the planet in the main series.
Yeah, he does. Cotton does die.
Yeah, but he dies towards the end. And in between those seasons, you barely see him at all.
That's true, yeah.
And Dee Dee also disappears as well.
Married
They
a
weren't
pro
really-
wrestler.
Yeah, she marries a pro wrestler. That's a weird transition. But maybe it's because neither of them were really popular characters. It's definitely going to be good, I think, to see Good Hank grow up a little bit. And it looks like he and Bobby have a good relationship, too. We got another reveal. Looks like here that Nancy and John Redcorn may have gotten back together.
Yeah,
If
Yeah.
they did do that, I really don't like that change, personally.
it does set it up perfectly for Nancy to be fooling around with Dale behind John Redcorn's back. Which I have a strong feeling they're going to take that direction.
And another thing that's interesting is apparently Jonathan Joss is not going to be reprising the role of John Redcorn again. I don't know who will be, but I think he might be out for the revival, which is sad.
Maybe they'll just have Danny Trejo do John Redcorn as well.
That would be hilarious. So just a little addendum here. While I was editing this video, I just learned that today Jonathan Joss has been shot and killed after an argument with his neighbor down in Texas. So yeah, he's definitely not going to be part of the revival, and it's just really unfortunate to lose such a legend. We've just lost so many legends related to the show, and it's depressing to see us lose yet another one. But rest in peace, King. We will not see your like again in our lifetimes. And here we have the big reveal that it looks like Hank has moved out of Rainy Street in between seasons 13 and 14. And that's sad.
Yeah, they had to change something though.
Yeah. And I recently read an interview with Greg Daniels and Mike Judge. And according to them, Hank actually moves to Saudi Arabia and starts selling propane and propane accessories over on the Arabian Peninsula.
Over to all those oil princes.
Yeah, which is a massive change. And personally, I feel like they must have thrown a lot of money at Hank to get him to do something like that.
Oh yeah, they're known for doing that.
Yeah, that's something that Saudi Arabia does, is that their own citizens have almost no skills. They just import foreign experts from everywhere. And that's pretty much how the entire country is run.
Yep.
And according to the same interview, Hank lives in one of these villages. There's these villages out in Saudi Arabia that are created to mimic typical Americana life. So it's almost like Greg Daniels outlines this, is that it's like he moves into a time capsule, that he moves away and he's actually frozen in time in this weird slice of America in a foreign land. And then he comes back to see all the massive changes that have happened while he's gone.
Wouldn't he have access to the news and stuff though?
I'm sure he would. I'm sure he has some idea of what's going on, but it's like when you're out of the country, you kind of lose touch of what's
Yeah,
happening.
you don't care so much anymore. Yeah.
You've got your own shit to deal with now.
What happened with Bobby though? Was that clarified?
So, from my understanding, is that he definitely doesn't go to Saudi Arabia with them, but oh, we got Bill crying here. He's actually in culinary school in Dallas. So, I think he moves away from Hank and Peggy and strikes out on his own.
Right.
And I think that's a smart choice for Bobby, too.
Yeah. At a certain point, you got to fly the nest for sure.
I mean, in terms of what they decide his profession, the
Oh,
direction that he's
right.
going in, I just think it fits with his character really well.
That's for sure. Yeah. 'Cause he gets all his creative flair and everything out with being a chef.
100%. And he's also shown to be quite skilled at it.
And it's social too.
We have whoever moves into the Hill residence. Well, I'm guessing Hank probably just rents it out or something like that. I don't think he sells the house, which is probably why he's able to come back. But
Comes
I
straight on
can't,
back. Yeah.
but I can't think of any character who this might be in the series.
So when Hank comes back, he's probably retired then for sure.
I would imagine so. He's probably retired, or maybe he's running Strickland Propane now.
I think that could be Roger Sack.
Yeah, you think so? The guy who plays.
If he was wearing a Strickland shirt, I think that's Roger.
Yeah, it very well could be Roger Sack. And that would be an interesting change of pace to see that he's definitely matured in his time since we first see him in the series. He's an immature comedian and ends up working for Strickland Propane and actually becomes one of Hank's best employees.
Yeah, that's right.
And it seems like he's really brought on a lot of Hank's mannerisms. Originally, I didn't know, and we still could be wrong here, this is speculation, but I was calling him Black Hank because he has so many of Hank's mannerisms. Like he wears the same shirt and he holds his beer in the same way.
Yeah, same body language.
So I'm not sure if it's Roger or not, but it's very possible, I think, that it could be him. Oh, we see Bill getting a little sick there. This must be just before the pandemic. And then we also have...
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not in the alley, so he must be in bed. But we've got everybody wearing masks except for Dale. Very on point.
That they were planning this show, and then COVID actually got in the way of it, sent it back a couple of years.
Yeah, that happened to so many different shows, video games, and movies. And yeah, the whole world took a hiatus for a couple of years. We're still feeling it.
Except for Bob's Burgers.
They kept pumping out Bob's Burgers. They must have a real good formula for keeping things on the rails over there. We have another little reveal here where some lady comes and gets Boomhauer to go with her. And we're not sure if this is Boomhauer's new girlfriend or wife, or if this kid featured here is his son. But it's definitely interesting to think about if Boomhauer finally settled down.
Yeah, they'd probably give that a whole episode, I would think.
And that's one of the things I hope that they do with the new series, is that they do some flashback episodes that kind of help us fill in the gaps of time. I am also trying to figure out if this lady is anybody from the series, but I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
What was that one girl, Catherine, where they had Brad Pitt come in and play
the Brad
Boomhauer's
Pitt
brother?
episode.
Yeah. And I don't think that's her because she had blonde hair, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
So
she did.
things, I guess, didn't work out with her, so we know that for certain. But it'll be cool if Boomhauer has a son, or it might be a stepson, we're not sure. Here we have the big reveal that Dale Gribble is running for mayor.
Joseph, eh?
Look at Joseph, man. Look at how tall he's gotten. He definitely looks like he's really filled in.
Looks very redneck.
100%. With the cut off sleeves and everything.
Yeah. And the half of the semi-mullet.
And what's interesting is that in the same interview I watched where they talk about this revival, they talk about how Dale's political opinions have become more mainstream since the series ended, in comparison to Hank, who's become less mainstream. And I definitely am interested to see how they handle that, because Dale wouldn't be able to run for mayor if more and more people weren't agreeing with the kind of stuff that he has to say.
That's true.
Here we have a very sad moment where they take away the telephone pole for some reason.
It went underground.
Maybe, with the Dale sign on it. And then he just puts it back up. Time passing, and then finally we have Hank and Peggy coming back from Saudi Arabia. And the intro now is him throwing away the Gribble sign, which is interesting. I wonder if that's a foreshadowing that maybe their relationship is more strained, but we'll see.
I don't think that the garbage bag ever had any symbolism to it.
No, probably not. But
I think it just makes a great surface to put up credits.
That's true. They've always had strained relationship to begin with anyway.
Yeah.
But still, I hope that everybody's still friends.
Dale's done some whack shit to Hank before.
That's true, and he's always stood by him.
Yeah.
And then we have the big intro where we get to see all of the characters as they are and as they get to be for the reveal. I think Bobby's character design looks great. It looks like he's aged very well. Peggy, on the other hand, looks like she's aged less well.
I just watched the Montana episode, and she does look like she's aged into her mom.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, she does actually look similar to her mom did. I just love, honestly, seeing everybody grown up and back together. It's just a great emotional experience, and I really hope that they can stick the landing on this one.
I am thinking it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, from what I've read and what I've seen so far, I am a lot less skeptical than I used to be. It's going to be hard to recapture that magic that they had way back in the late 90s and early 2000s. If anybody can stick the landing, I got a lot of faith in Mike Judge.
Yeah, he's done a lot of good work, that guy.
He's the man. And yeah, there we have it. Overall, I have increased my excitement level for the series, but there's still a lot of questions and concerns for sure.
All I can say is that this is probably the most excited I've ever been for a new TV show in my entire life.
Yeah, the hype is real. And August 4th, we definitely intend to be reviewing the episodes. We haven't figured it out quite yet because we're going in chronological order with all the episodes. But for the new ones, I think that'll be the one time we break form.
Or a different channel.
Anyway, that brings us to the end of our reaction for the new credit sequence for season 14. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys are as excited as we are.
Right on. Thanks for watching.
So long, suckers. Ah! Ah!